Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Reading from Caitanya Charitamrta Adi Lila Chapter 1 The Spiritual Masters Text number 46. Acharyam vijaनीयान् navamanetakarbhichit namartya buddhaya suveta sarvadeva mayo guruhu. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27, spoken by Lord Krishna when he was questioned by Uddhava regarding the four social and spiritual orders of society. The Lord was specifically instructing how a brahmachari should behave under the care of a spiritual master. A spiritual master is not an enjoyer of facilities offered by his disciples. He is like a parent. Without the attentive service of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the plane of transcendental service. The spiritual master is also called Acharya or a transcendental professor of spiritual science. The Manu Samhita 2.140 explains the duties of an Acharya, describing that a bona fide spiritual master accepts charge of disciples, teaches them the Vedic knowledge with all its intricacies, and gives them their second birth. The ceremony performed to initiate a disciple into the study of spiritual science is called Upaniti, or the function that brings one nearer to the spiritual master. One who cannot be brought nearer to a spiritual master cannot have a sacred thread, and thus he is indicated to be a Shudra. The sacred thread on the body of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya is a symbol of initiation by the spiritual master. It is worth nothing if worn merely to boast of high parentage. The duty of the spiritual master is to initiate a disciple with the sacred thread ceremony, and after this samskara or purificatory process, the spiritual master usually begins to teach the disciple about the Vedas. A person born a Shudra is not barred from such spiritual initiation, provided he is approved by the spiritual master, who is duly authorized to award a disciple the right to be a Brahmana if he finds him perfectly qualified. In the Vayu Purana, an Acharya is defined as one who knows the import of all Vedic literature, explains the purpose of the Vedas, abides by their rules and regulations, and teaches his disciples to act in the same way. Only out of his immense compassion does the personality of Godhead reveal himself as the spiritual master. Therefore, in the dealings of an acharya, there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord. He is the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. It is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the manifestation or form of the Lord, of whom one must take shelter. If one poses himself as an acharya but does not have an attitude of servitorship to the Lord, he must be considered an offender, and this offensive attitude disqualifies him from being an acharya. The bona fide spiritual master always engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this test, he is known to be a direct manifestation of the Lord and a genuine representative of Sri Nityanand Prabhu. Such a spiritual master is known as Acharya Dev. Influenced by an envious temperament and dissatisfied because of an attitude of sense gratification, Mundaners criticize a real Acharya. In fact, however, a bona fide acharya is non different from the personality of Godhead, and therefore, to envy such an acharya is to envy the personality of Godhead Himself. This will produce an effect subversive of transcendental realization. As mentioned previously, a disciple should always respect the spiritual master as a manifestation of Sri Krishna, but at the same time, one should always remember that a spiritual master is never authorized to imitate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. False spiritual masters pose themselves as identical with Sri Krishna in every respect to exploit the sentiments of their disciples, but such impersonalists can only mislead their disciples, for their ultimate aim is to become one with the Lord. This is against the principles of the devotional cult. The real Vedic philosophy is Achintya Bhed Abhed Atattva, which establishes everything to be simultaneously one with and different from the personality of Godhead. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami confirms that this is the real position of a bona fide spiritual master and says that one should always think of the spiritual master in terms of his intimate relationship with Mukunda Sri Krishna. Srila Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha 213 has clearly explained that a pure devotee's observation of the spiritual master and Lord Shiva as being one with the personality of Godhead exists in terms of their being very dear to the Lord, not identical with him in all respects. Following in the footsteps of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami, later acharyas like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have confirmed the same truths. In his prayers to the spiritual master, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms that all the revealed scriptures accept the spiritual master to be identical with the personality of Godhead because he is a very dear and confidential servant of the Lord. Gaudiya Vaishnavas therefore worship Srila Gurudev, the spiritual master, in the light of his being the servitor of the personality of Godhead. In all the ancient literatures of devotional service and in the more recent songs of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and other unalloyed Vaishnavas, the spiritual master is always considered either one of the confidential associates of Srimati Radharani or a manifested representation of Srila Nityanand Prabhu. Om Agyanathimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. What a powerful verse and a beautiful explanation by Srila Prabhupada in his purport. So what do we learn from this verse number 46? The importance of the spiritual master and what is his position. That is what we learn from this verse. And so once we understand what is the real position of a bona fide spiritual master, we should not disrespect. In fact, we should not disrespect anybody, any living entity. But when it comes to our spiritual master, there should be no disrespect, and of course, there should be no envy. How do we know if we are envious of our spiritual master? As Srila Prabhupada explains, that if we do not really understand his transcendental position, then the envy may rise in our hearts. Like, oh, how come he is, being garlanded? How come he is getting to sit on the vyasas? And how come he is getting all, so much service and attention? No, we must be very, very, very careful that we do not become envious, not only of our spiritual master, but envious of any living entity. And of course, we do the Mangalarti every morning, and in that we sing, and we also, praise, glorify the spiritual master, offer our obeisances to him every morning. And why? Because he is not an ordinary man. Here it says that he is a representative of all the demigods. So powerful. He is the representative of all the demigods. So when we are offering our obeisances to our spiritual master, we are serving him, you know, that is also service to the demigods and the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. You see, this there is this nice verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam that is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada, where he says, this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by Lord Krishna when he was questioned by Uddhava regarding the four social and spiritual orders of society. And that's when Krishna also, even in Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? Chatur Varnyam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha, right? That one does not become a Brahmana just because he or she is born in a family of Brahmanas. No, it is based on guna and karma. Uh, we have to be qualified to be a Brahmana. So even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have read the importance of a spiritual master. He gives us guidance. As Prabhupada mentions in the purpose, spiritual master is not enjoying the facilities that are being provided by the disciples. No, he is, whatever facilities are given to him, he is taking them on behalf of his spiritual master and Krishna. He is not enjoying it for himself. He is not the enjoyer of facilities. He's like a parent, like Srila Prabhupada said in the Prabhupada, right? He's like a parent. Just like the parents, they pay attention to their kids, and make sure that, they are protected, they are well guided, etc. Similarly, the spiritual master also does the same with his disciples, right? So if the spiritual master is taking so much effort to guide us, to lead us back to Godhead, then what do we need to do? We also need to make an effort. What kind of effort? First of all, we need to make an effort to build a relationship with the spiritual master. It's not that, oh, I have accepted the spiritual master, or I've taken initiation, or I've taken Brahman initiation and I'm done. No, that is where actual bhakti starts. After initiation is when actual bhakti starts, and we need to build our relationship with our spiritual master. How do we do that? We do that by following his instructions, by pleasing him, by keeping in touch with him. This is how we do. Because if we don't build that relationship with the spiritual master, then how will we progress, right? The spiritual master is there. He has taken a vow to help us progress spiritually. Now, in this verse and in the purport, it's mentioned that the spiritual master is called an acharya. Why is he called an acharya? Because he is a professor of spiritual science. He gives us transcendental knowledge, right? We heard in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, right? He's a tattvadarshinaha. He has seen the truth. So he can impart knowledge unto us because he has seen the truth, right? So he not only gives us, guides us, but he also follows the instructions of Krishna himself, and he sets as an example. He shows us with his own example. He takes, in fact, he takes a vow, he takes the responsibility to deliver us. So it's very, very important that we take this spiritual life very seriously. It's not, this Krishna consciousness is not casual. Oh, when I feel like, when I have the time, when I'm in the mood, that's when I'm going to read or I'm going to chant. No, we are so very fortunate that we have come under the umbrella of Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON. We are very, very, very fortunate that we have this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. We have Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have Srimad Bhagavatam. We have Caitanya Charitamrta. We have so much knowledge. Plus, Krishna has also given us a bona fide spiritual master to guide us, right? So we should not take this as casual. We should not consider this material world like a clubhouse. Let me come enjoy, let me earn money, let me buy this, let me do that, let me save. And this all will go on. We have done this life after life after life. So many millions of lifetimes we've done this. We are chewing the chewed. There is no juice in material world. So we should take to Krishna consciousness very, very seriously. Srila Prabhupada used to say, make this human life your last birth. After this, finish. My business is over and I need to go back to Godhead. And the spiritual master is there to guide us, right? It is said that Krishna gives Guru and Guru gives Krishna. This is how it works. So, why is it that out of thousands and thousands of people in Atlanta, why is it that only we, few of us, got the opportunity to meet our bona fide spiritual master? Why? Because we had that baggage of good karma, of piety. We had performed some devotional service in our previous life. That's why we got the opportunity. Krishna gave us Guru, and now the Guru is ready to give us Krishna. But he is not going to come and force us to do that. No, we have to make that effort. We have to, somehow or the other chant 16 rounds no matter what. We must chant 16. That's the, uh, I think someone's mic is on. That's why there's an echo. Yes, okay. So where was I? What was I talking about? Yes, so we must chant 16 rounds without fail. That is the first requirement of accepting a spiritual master. If we are serious about going back to the spiritual world, if we are serious about ending the cycle of misery, then we must chant 16 rounds, follow the four regulative principles sincerely, and follow the process of sadhana bhakti. Only then we will be qualified to accept a bona fide spiritual master. And of course, after, like in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Upaniti, right? That is the initiation ceremony. That is a strong bond that is built between the disciple and the spiritual master. And it's this bond that brings the disciple closer to the spiritual master. But for that, one has to follow strict sadhana. One has to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. One has to please the spiritual master. This is how we can progress spiritually. Now, Prabhupada, in the purport, he talks about the sacred thread, the second initiation, right? But that second initiation is given only based on qualifications. It's not based on birth. One cannot become a Brahmana because one is born in the family of a Brahmana and has already been given a sacred thread. No, it has to be based on qualifications. And Prabhupada says, even a Shudra can become a Brahmana, right? The spiritual master, he has the authority to approve second initiation. Once he sees that the disciple who has already taken first initiation has developed Brahmanical qualities, is qualified, then that is when the spiritual master gives the second initiation to the disciple. And Krishna, Prabhupada mentions in his purport that Krishna, he reveals himself as a spiritual master. What a great compassion, right? When we see a bona fide spiritual master, we can see here is a bona fide representative of Krishna. It is Krishna who is within as super soul and without as this spiritual master. So when we associate with such a bona fide spiritual master, there should only be loving service to him. Take shelter of him, get guidance from him. Not, not that, okay, the spiritual master has come to our city and, he's going to spend a few days. And this is the opportunity when we can physically do loving service for him. So what should be the consciousness? The consciousness should not be that, oh, let me compete in this service. Oh, why is that one got this service? Why I didn't get this service? I want to choose this service. No, the mentality is we all want to serve the spiritual master so that he is pleased. And one of the services is preaching. That is what pleases him the most. Preaching, right? Because he himself is taking the risk and is preaching day after day after day. So he also expects us to preach Krishna consciousness to others. It's not that we get so engrossed in our daily, rigmarole, our daily life, wake up, prasadam, office, sleep, wake up, prasadam, sleep. No, it should be much beyond that what we are doing materially. We have to find time to chant 16 rounds. Why is he called a Acharya? He's called a Acharya because he knows the Vedas. He's himself serving Krishna. If you all have seen, Guru Maharaj's deity worship, 2 hours of deity worship every day. So much dedication, with so much love and care, he's performing deity worship. Right? He's showing us by his example how we have to be Krishna conscious. And why is also called Acharya? Vacha Vegam Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam Udarapas, right? He has control over his senses. He is a Goswami, he is a master of the senses. He is always engaged in unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. Once we can understand all this, once we understand his transcendental position, then we will be able to also understand that he is a direct manifestation of Krishna and he's a genuine representative of Lord Nityananda. That is why he's called Acharya Dev. He's not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there should be no envy at all. No envy. If there is no envy, then what is the result? Then only we will be able to become self-realized, right? Must always respect the spiritual master and always remember he is not an ordinary man. He is the manifestation of Krishna, right? And we have to also be very careful of imitations. Many people may, present themselves as a bona fide spiritual master. The first thing that we need to do is make sure that such a person is in the strict disciplic succession, like Krishna has given us in Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashya vidhi, right? So we have to be very, very careful about that. Now, Prabhupada in his purport, he's talking about Achintya Bhed Abheda Tattva, right? Which means simultaneously one with and different from Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the position of the spiritual master, right? We have to think of him in terms of a relationship with Krishna, right? In the mornings when we do Mangalarti, we sing Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastra, right? All the Shastras, they accept, they reveal spiritual master identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because he is very dear to Krishna and he is a confidential servant of Krishna. Not only that, he is a confidential associate of Srimati Radharani and Lord Nityananda. This is what we learned in the purport. Let's go to verse number 47. शिक्षा गुरु केता जानी कृष्णे रस्वरूपा अंतर्यामी भक्त श्रेष्ठ ए द्विरूपा. Translation. One should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the super soul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. Right? Greatest devotee of the Lord. Wow. Purport. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states that the instructing spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Sri Krishna. So now here he's talking about Shiksha Guru. We heard about Diksha Guru, now he's talking about Shiksha Guru. Excuse me. So Shiksha Guru also, is considered like Krishna. He manifests within as a super soul, and without he is represented as the greatest devotee. Now, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is stating, right, that the Shiksha Guru is a bona fide representative of Krishna. But what is more important is we have to make sure that whomsoever we take as a Shiksha Guru is in strict disciplic succession, is in the parampara, is authorized, right? So, excuse me. So, so as we can see, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is also pointing out again that Shiksha Guru is a bona fide representative of Krishna, must be in parampara, must be authorized, right? Krishna is guiding us from within as a Paramatma, but without we have the Shiksha Gurus and Diksha Guru guiding us. So Prabhupada here in the purport is talking about Krishna teaching us as Paramatma. So, in fact, he is doing both. Krishna is acting as a Diksha Guru also, Shiksha Guru also. Sorry, not Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru within the heart, and without, he is represented by the bona fide authorized spiritual master. So, this is what we are learning from this verse. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about two Shiksha Gurus, two kinds of Shiksha Gurus. One is liberated, fully absorbed in devotional service. That is one kind of Shiksha Guru. And the other kind is the one who invokes spiritual consciousness by giving instructions, is able to help others by preaching to them how to progress spiritually. In other words, that Shiksha Guru is invoking Krishna consciousness by preaching, right? Prabhupada always says that we already have Krishna consciousness within us. It just needs to be revived. We have forgotten. We've forgotten our position. We've forgotten Krishna. So now, by preaching, Shiksha Guru is able to invoke that spiritual consciousness within the individual living, individual person that the person is preaching to. So, authorized Guru also enriches the disciple with full spiritual knowledge and awakens that disciple to devotional service. So, this is the benefit we get from association. When we associate with the bona fide spiritual master, he guides us, he helps us to revive our Krishna consciousness, something that we've forgotten, something that is there within us. And he teaches us and he helps us to engage ourselves in devotional service, right? When that happens, then functional devotional service begins. This is what Srila Prabhupada is talking about in the purport. Functional devotional service begins. What is the important function in on the spiritual path? Hearing. Hearing is functional service. Practical service. We need to perform the practical service. In fact, Prabhupada, he is again mentioning that there is no, in the purport, he's saying there's no difference between Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru. That's a very powerful statement. So if we discriminate, then that is an offense. So just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has, given us this knowledge that we have to be very careful of offending Vaishnavas, because if we do that, then our spiritual life will get destroyed. So we have to guard ourselves from offenses. In the mornings after Mangalarti, we chant the 10 offenses that are to be avoided while chanting the holy name of the Lord. And the 11th one is to be inattentive while chanting. So Guru Maharaj always says that if somehow or the other, if we chant attentively, then we will be able to avoid those 10 offenses, right? So the 11th offense, if followed very carefully, that we are not inattentive, that means we are attentive while chanting, then we will be able to avoid the other offenses. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Diksha Guru being the personal representative of Govinda Dev DT. That is his position. Let's do verse number 48. Navopayantiyapachitam kavayasthavesha brahmayusapi kritam vridha mudha smarantaha युवन्तर्बहिस्तनुभृताम् अशुभं विघ्नुवान् आचार्य चैत्य वपुषा स्वगतिं व्यन्ति. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:29-6 was spoken by Sri Uddhava after he heard from Sri Krishna all necessary instructions about yoga. So, this verse number 48, we can see that again, once again, the same point is being emphasized. What is that? The importance of a bona fide spiritual master. Krishna is within as a super soul and without as a bona fide spiritual master. Sometimes people, when they see, us devotees, you know, glorifying our spiritual master, making him sit on Vyasasana, putting a garland on him, offering a big feast to him, doing arti, chanting and dancing. People sometimes think, oh, these are fanatics. No, we are not fanatics. We are just following Krishna's instructions. Krishna has given us clear instructions that he is within as super soul and without as a bona fide spiritual master. So we are just following the instructions of the Guru Parampara going all the way to Krishna. Today's last verse, number 49. तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते. Translation. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. If y'all remember, this is a verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse number 10, right? Constantly devoted to whom? To Krishna. Constantly, not 8 a.m. on Saturday only. No, constantly devoted to Krishna, which means not only thinking of him, chanting his holy names, but serving him with love and devotion. Right? How is he saying how to be devoted? With love. And what is the result? The result is that we will get the understanding. What understanding will we get? The understanding how to go back to Krishna, how to go back to Godhead and serve him in the spiritual world, right? But that is only possible when we take the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. That is when it's possible. Krishna gives Guru and Guru gives us Krishna. This whole chapter in this Adi Lila, the very first chapter entitled The Spiritual Masters, is just to make us understand those who have already got initiated and those who are about to get initiated or those who are desiring to get initiated. We understand the real position of a bona fide spiritual master, right? Just like the spiritual master should be bona fide, the disciple also should be bona fide. So we must not take this bhakti casually and say, oh, I'm going to chant when I have time, I'm too busy, or I'm not feeling well, or I have so many responsibilities. No, all these are excuses. We must not consider Krishna consciousness to be casual, right? Or, if we do not take advantage now that we have come to Krishna consciousness, we have come in contact with devotees, if we don't take this seriously, take on this responsibility of progressing in spiritual life, then why should another opportunity be given to us? Why? Right? If Krishna sees we are wasting this human form of life, not taking it seriously, just, going about our business every day and that's about it, then why should we given another opportunity, right? Constant engagement is the requirement, right? Devotional service in loving, it should be loving devotion. It should not, I have to chant. No, I want to chant. That is the attitude, that's the mentality that can help us. So once one is awakened in divine consciousness, then only one will relish the transcendental mellow, the rasa, right? What is the qualification to relish this? Rasa is one should be convinced by devotional service that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And once when understand that Krishna is all in all, he's a fountainhead of all incarnations, right? He is the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, he already told us, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the Lord of everyone. He is the Lord of even the demigods. Once we are convinced, once we understand, then we will come to the pure state of consciousness. It's not just theory. It's not just we keep hearing and hearing and hearing for years and years and years and then not do anything about it. What is the point of hearing when it is not put into practice? It has to be put into practice, right? Then we will come to the pure state of consciousness. What do the pure devotees do? They are always talking about Krishna, right? They're talking, they're doing Krishna Katha, they're discussing, they are reading, they are hearing, and then they are exchanging realizations. So it's not just hearing, hearing, hearing. No. When Krishna sees, right, in Bhagavad Gita also there is a verse, Tushyanti cha ramanti cha, right? The devotees, when Krishna sees devotees are engaged in constantly thinking about him, talking about him, exchanging realizations, Krishna is very pleased, Guru is very pleased. That's when they will enlighten the devotee or the disciple. That's when the mercy of Guru and Krishna is going to come. So, this chapter is very, very important indeed. It is making us understand and making us hopefully realize the transcendental position of a bona fide spiritual master. So I'm going to end here at verse number 49 if there are any questions.